Hello, this is Matthew Chan. Welcome to the new episode of the Success Formula with Ray Williams. And in this episode, we're going to continue our discussion from the prior episode on practical strategies to build confidence in your business and life. So, Ray, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Matthew, and looking forward to adding another 4 strategies for people that they can do that are fairly simple and yet very powerful. So we really encourage people to either take notes or if you're able to record or download this video is to play it back again and just follow the steps. They're really, really tremendous steps. And as I said before in the introduction, these come from some pretty substantial research on the way the brain works and a thing called cognitive behavior therapy, which is how to make changes in your life that you've had difficulty making before, moving from one state to another. So as it applies to confidence now, not everybody is confident in all areas of their life, Matthew, and so there are always going to be areas where we think, you know what, I'd like to be more confident in that. You can use these strategies to help you do that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So where we left off is you were explaining to us how we should immerse ourselves and get as much clarity as we can in creating a confident experience. Obviously, something we've done well in the past, and bringing it forward to the new experience. So that's
right.
Where we left off. So
right. And
where do we go from here?
And just to follow up on what you're saying, it's basically using what you know about being confident in one situation and transferring it to another. So our next strategy is going to be dealing with anchoring again, because anchoring has so many applications. And where anchoring comes from, Matthew, it comes from the original psychological research done by a psychologist named B.F. Skinner and also a Russian psychologist named Pavlov. And everyone's heard of Pavlov's dogs, right?
Yeah, that's what I smiled.
Right. And it's where he would, ring a bell and get them to salivate even though there was no food there. So that's the original, but it's much more complex than that with human beings, obviously. However, an anchor is basically only a stimulus that triggers your mental state. That's all it is.
Okay.
And it's used effectively by psychologists and therapists like myself to deal with phobias, motivation, addictions, all kinds of things. So here's the good thing about anchors. Anchors elicit a really, really strong emotional state. But they have to be very unique and specific, and they have to be something you can repeat over and over again. That's a good anchor.
Yeah.
So common examples of really good anchors are this, and please take a note of this. A really good anchor is a very specific piece of music that you really like.
Yeah, music is a powerful way of bringing out different emotions in us. That's for sure.
Exactly. So what's your favorite piece of music?
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
So what I encourage you to do is develop 3 that really, really connect with you. Say, wow, when I hear that, I'm up on my feet. I feel pumped. I feel passionate. Really kind of identify 2 or 3 pieces of music that really get that way. So a good example would be, if I hear Tchaikovsky's The War of 1812 Symphony with the cannons in the background and all that kind of stuff.
That's a good one.
That to me, it just gets me pumped. Or if I hear Survivor's Eye of the Tiger,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a very good one.
And another one for me is Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, that beautiful piece, which is very, very romantic and slow. So for different reasons, those 3 pieces of music for me are tremendous anchors.
I gotcha.
Okay. It can also be a work of art. A famous painting, a famous statue, something that evokes something in you that you can really connect with instantly. It can also be right, exactly. It can also it can also be a photograph of a particular person or a place.
Right.
So one of my favorite places to go, we love to go to Maui, and there's a couple pictures of where we spent time on the beach there. If I see that picture, it brings back a very, very powerful memory right away.
Oh,
so those are all those are all anchors. And you should learn how to develop these anchors in your life and use them. So this is how you would use anchors to anchor confidence. Step number 1 is you would practice this thing that I described before in part 1, which is remember a time when you were really, really confident, right? Mm-hmm. And then you would visualize that in your head. Now, while you're doing that, put on your favorite piece of music, or look at your favorite photograph, or look at your favorite work of art at the same time.
Wow, that's a double effect, huh?
Right. And then, now you've got this anchor connected, right? Then step 3 is, if you're about to go into a situation where you're not feeling so confident, that you want to develop more confidence, you put on that piece of music, you look at that photograph of that favorite place of yours or that work of art, and it brings back that feeling of confidence. It's that simple.
You know, I never really thought about the music as being an anchor. I mean, now that you just articulated it. But, you know, the funny thing is, in the last episode, you made some kind of comment about me and my dancing and the confidence. And actually, now that we're talking about it, it's not that I'm super confident in my dancing, but you're right. The music depends on the music. If the right music comes on, I don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm a happy guy. I'm going up there. And
exactly.
You know, it's sort of like I tune the world out. If I look like an idiot, I don't care because I love the music.
Right.
So, yeah, right. I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
But if I was to play for you, some South African South African tribal music, you may not get out on the dance floor, right? Because you're not connecting with it.
You know, that is true. That is true. Yeah, it does, at least for me and the dance thing. I mean, it is heavily dependent on the music being played.
Right. So you can use the same thing when you go into a situation, and that's why I say to you, develop at least 3 anchors in life that you can access really, really quickly that allows you to transfer that feeling of confidence to a new situation.
I already feel like I've got to go dig something out and stick it on my smartphone. Get a few pictures and put it in there. So I already like it.
Good idea. Okay. Next strategy is called the circle of confidence.
All right, that's an interesting term.
Yeah. So this is again another anchoring strategy. The difference is instead of you bringing a visual kind of anchor the anchors we've talked about in your mind, you actually physically create an anchor on the ground or on the floor. And what you do is, step number 1 is you imagine a circle on the ground. Okay? Or you could I've had people actually draw the circle or use, tape or something to put the circle on the floor. That works as well. Step number 2 is you remember a time when you were really, really confident. Same thing. So you're going to be accessing this time you're really confident. And then step number 3 is while you're reliving that experience of being really confident, you step into the circle at the same time. You actually physically step into the circle. And then while you're in the circle, you really feel that sense of confidence and power as much as you can for at least a couple minutes. Okay? Then step number 5 is you step out of the circle and you hold on to that feeling of confidence for as long as you can once you're outside the circle. So what's happening here in your brain, Matthew, is that when you're inside the circle, you're in confidence, and that's your confidence situation, right?
Right.
When you're outside the circle, it's now a new experience. You're not there. It's the new situation. It's the situation away from what you're used to. But you're carrying with you that feeling that you had when you were inside the circle with you.
Interesting.
So it's an actual physical movement kind of way of retaining confidence.
I gotcha. Okay.
Okay?
Never heard that one before.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool one. I've had people do it in a group too, and it's really a great exercise. Okay, strategy number 6 is called Future Success Now. So if you were to experience or taste your future success and feel what it would be like to have everything you wanted, wouldn't you feel greatly more motivated now to do everything to get there? Sure we would. Mm-hmm. So what this strategy does, it brings all the future feelings of success into your heart and your brain and your soul, and it makes it feel like instead of being in the future, it's actually right now. So here are the steps to follow.
Okay.
Step number 1 is on your mental movie screen, you play a movie of you succeeding, not as if it was 5 years in the future, but as though 5 years in the future was right now today.
Okay.
So imagine 5 years down the road. If you were to imagine that, Matthew, you're making a couple $1 million a year, you're going out in your yacht, whatever it happens to be. I don't know how you would imagine that.
I understand.
Okay. So what you're going to do now is on that movie screen, instead of seeing that movie as though it was 5 years from now, you're seeing the movie as though it was today, now.
I got it.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, step number 2. Just at the point when you're at the peak of saying, wow, this is everything I've ever wanted, you press the pause button as though it was a video recording. And you say to yourself, pause. Okay? That's step 2.
Okay.
Step 3 is you ask yourself this question. What's important about the success I'm having right now? Or what will this bring for me if I do this? And you just ask those questions, okay?
That's a huge motivator, actually.
Yeah. And then step number 4 is you jump back in the movie and you let go of the play and you press the play button again. And you're back in there and you're enjoying all that success until the movie is done. Okay, until you felt, okay, I've enjoyed this enough, I can see it all, I get it. And then the next step, step 5, is you take all these wonderful feelings that you have and you open up your eyes and say, that's not the future, that's right now. Mm-hmm. That's now. And then the last step is you get a pad of paper and a pen and you write down 5 things that you can do today to start making those things happen. 5 things that you can work on today.
That's not too
so
bad.
You can see what's happening here in this future success now is that you're bringing a vision of the future and you're moving it to the present, but you're taking action in very practical terms.
Yeah, so many of these little techniques involve the mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all about the mind, Matthew. It's all about the mind.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Now,
okay, strategy number...
I didn't mean
strategy
to, but I did want to ask real quick. As
go
we're
ahead.
going through all these different techniques, I feel sort of a little overwhelmed. There's so many different techniques. I mean, would it be natural to start with a few and kind of go with
So one of the reasons I'm giving so many here is that people can kind of keep it as a library and then say, okay, I've now got a nice stash of things I can work on here. I'm not suggesting you do all these at the same time.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I understood, and of course our viewers understood. That way they don't have to feel so overwhelmed. You pick 1 or 2 and just build on it.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
I like that.
Right, and through time you utilize all of them, but through time, not trying to do them all. Like for example, I wouldn't suggest, okay, someone watches these 2 segments, and the next morning they try and do all 8. No, I'm not suggesting that.
Well,
okay, next strategy.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's called borrow confidence. And this is based upon what we talked about before, and that's work on your strengths and not your weaknesses.
Yeah.
And one of the ways to do that is model excellence that you see in someone else. So this is also a way to build your confidence. A great way to build that confidence is to model yourself after someone else who has lots of confidence. Pick someone you respect that conducts themselves in an ethical, moral way. So I wouldn't say to you, okay, listen, you should model Bobby Knight when he throws chairs at his players in basketball. Pick someone you respect and is respected. And there are lots of people around like that. So here's the steps you... yeah.
He seems to have no shortage of confidence.
However, there's some downside to his style, too.
Yeah, it seems to be coming out now, but anyway.
Yeah. So here are the steps you would take, okay? Step number 1, you find someone whose confidence you'd like to have for yourself. That's step 1. So you identify someone. Step number 2 is you would get as much information about this person as possible. Read up on them. Read the biographies. Read articles about them. Watch videos, newspaper articles. If you have a chance, go and see this person in person.
Yeah.
Right? Okay? I did this a bit with Tony Robbins in the sense of admiring how he conducted himself on the stage as a speaker.
Yeah.
And what incredible ways he had. I said, I'm going to watch him and learn some of that. Now, Tony and I don't have the same style, but I've learned a lot of things from him.
That's great.
So that's an example. Okay, step number 3 is, again, you go back to your mental movie in your head, and you watch this role model behaving confidently and notice everything about them. How do they walk? What's their body position like? How are they moving their hands? What do they do when they tilt their head? Are they smiling? Are they not smiling? Watching their eyes, watching their tone of voice, everything in detail. And you notice, Matthew, in a lot of these things I'm talking about, you have to identify a lot more detail than what it is you're imagining.
I see.
Right?
I think this technique is going to come natural to a lot of people. I think people just inherently gravitate towards people they admire, and they start paying more attention to that person. So
exactly.
I think this is going to be an easy technique.
Next step.
Okay.
You make the image really compelling by turning up the visual, auditory, and sensual qualities. In other words, make the movie bigger, make it brighter, better sound, better color, all of that stuff. You really make the image powerful that way. Okay, that's the next step. Hey, now, here's the critical turn here. Step number 5 is you step into the movie and you become this person.
Okay. You
become the person. You don't become yourself. You become Tony Robbins. You become Obama. You become Donald Trump. Whoever it is you're picking.
Right.
You become this person so that you can start emulating everything they do in your mind. So that you're talking the way they talk. You're moving the way they move. You're acting the way they act. This is what actors do, This is what actors do. When they take on a role for a particular role, they say, okay, I'm playing a criminal. Okay, what would a criminal look like? So all the great actors like Anthony Hopkins, they will then study what it's like to be that person in huge amount of detail.
Interesting.
And then they become that person. Right?
Right.
Okay, so that was the next step, is you then step into the movie and become that person and do everything they would do. Now, the next step is you then think about 5 different situations that you're going to go into that you would lack confidence, and you walk into those situations in your mind being that person, how they would handle it. Mm-hmm. So now you become Donald Trump meeting your mother-in-law. You become Donald Trump meeting your business partner. Okay? Because it has to be context-driven. And then finally, the last step is when you feel like, hey, I'm getting used to being this kind of person, you then let that person fade into the background, and then you become the person instead of this other guy.
I understand. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be a clone of that person.
No, you have to be you. But what you need to, but in developing the confidence of someone you really admire, you need to pick up what do they do that they're so good at to develop that confidence. Emulate it, and then let that person fade in the background, and you become that person.
That makes sense.
So that's called borrowing confidence. Okay, last strategy. It's called scheduling your dreams.
Scheduling your dreams. All right.
Scheduling your dreams.
That sounds intriguing.
Yeah. So while many successful people plan their work and work their plan, it isn't always conscious. Your unconscious mind is the most powerful force in making things happen, Matthew, and giving you confidence. One way at accessing the unconscious mind is through your sleep and in your dreams. Your mind is not shut off while you're dreaming. A lot of people think your mind shuts down when you're dreaming, when you're sleeping. It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It works.
Yeah,
it works at stuff. Yep. Okay. So here are the steps to take in order to schedule your dreams so that you can become more confident. Step number one, before you go to sleep, imagine where you'd like to be in 5 or 10 years.
Okay.
Step number 2 is you write down the details of that on a piece of paper. Okay. Step number 3, you say to your unconscious mind, and I'll give you an example of that in a second. You say to your unconscious mind to work on these things while you're asleep. And then step number 4, you go to sleep not worrying about these things because, you know what, your unconscious mind is going to take care of them for you.
Okay.
And then step number 5 is when you wake up, within the first 5 minutes, write down everything that's in your mind on paper before it's lost.
Oh, wow. That's a tough one there.
Yeah.
You almost have to jump out of bed.
Exactly. It's exactly what you have to do. So here's the thing. Here's the science behind it. Say, number 1, when I'm saying to my unconscious mind, Ray, I want you to work on how I'm going to build my business while I'm retired in my villa in northern Italy in 5 years. Okay? Because I can't see it exactly. I want you to work on what that's going to look like and what maybe I have to do to make it happen. So that's what I tell my unconscious mind. Okay, now I said, I don't have to think about that anymore because the more powerful conscious mind is going to deal with that and come up with some ideas, and now I'm just going to go to sleep and have a great sleep. Then I go to sleep, wake up the next morning. I always have a pad of paper and a pen by my bed.
Really?
When I first wake up, in the first 5 minutes, when you wake up, you're still connected with your unconscious mind.
Interesting.
You're still connected with your unconscious mind. As you wake up more and more, you lose that connection.
That is true. That is true.
So you need to be able to write down everything that's in your head right away. And you'll be surprised, some stuff that comes out that you write down is actually going to give you some ideas about what you need to do.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's the last strategy. So those are 4 strategies that we've added in section 2 here that are going to help you develop confidence in your business and your life. And I know they work because I've worked with hundreds of people doing these things, and they do work as long as you dedicate yourself to practicing them.
So do you personally use all of these different techniques, or do you gravitate towards 2 or 3 of them? How do most people respond to all these different techniques? I mean, you've got such a smorgasbord here.
Yeah, it varies. It varies, Matthew. Some people like certain kinds better. I use the Schedule Your Dreams a lot. I use a lot the Borrowing Confidence modeling. So, for example, one of the things I've always wanted to do is to sing. I think I talked to you about that before, right? So who I like is Leonard Cohen. He's got this gravelly voice, and he sings at a low register. So I would just go to concerts with him, where he was playing, and I'd get all the CDs. I'd watch videos just to see what he's doing, imagine myself being him. And then at, my 40th wedding anniversary with my wife, I grabbed a microphone in front of 200 people and sang to them.
Oh, wow. You go. How did it turn out? Did you record it?
We did on video, and Diane she was so excited, and my sons, 2 of whom are musicians, came up and said, "Dad, that wasn't bad."
That wasn't bad.
I took that as a compliment.
I would agree with that. If they said that wasn't bad, that's definitely a compliment.
Yeah.
Okay. So you do have your favorites.
I do have my favorites, which would be the dreaming and the borrowing confidence. Yeah.
And the one thing I definitely would like to try, it sounds like a bit of a challenge, but is this, would you call it scheduled dreams or something?
Yeah, scheduled dreams, yeah.
I would love to be able to make that happen. But does your brain actually listen to the instructions, or does it kind of stray off?
The thing about your unconscious mind is that your unconscious mind does what it's told, so it's a matter of whether you believing you can instruct it or not. If you don't believe it, it's not going to happen.
Well, I guess, all right, well, most of us, I don't think, tell our unconscious minds what to do. We just kind of doze off or whatever you want to call it, and the brain does its things. Where do you think it gets its input from if we don't give it specific instructions?
It'll get it from everywhere, including all your experiences in life, your memories, your bad situations, the people. Your unconscious mind is 90% of your mind.
I do know that, like if I'm under stress or if there's a problem I'm really working on or just really spending time on, I mean, my brain will kind of go there versus times where I'm kind of sort of relaxed and I'm not really worrying about anything per se. I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah, and one of the ways you can access your unconscious mind really quickly is in meditation, under hypnosis, or if you're in a trance. It's really quickly to be able to easy to slip into that part of your brain, your mind, that's going to have a tremendous impact on what you're doing.
Well, I should let the viewers know that I never quite understood the whole hypnosis thing, and I don't claim to know a lot about it, but Ray did hypnotize me, and it was a very interesting experience. I mean, you're like the first person I really, honest to goodness, decided, I'm going to trust and let go. And it was kind of like you're there, but you're kind of not there.
Yeah.
It was just so strange afterwards. You planted some good stuff in there, I hope. I don't even remember what you told me.
Absolutely, I did.
Maybe this show was a manifestation of what you put in there. Who knows?
Well, you never know, right?
But anyway, I guess the point I was trying to make was I just think that the mind seems to be very powerful, and you're a big proponent of making your mind work for it, even the unconscious one.
That's exactly right, and I believe in you change your mind, you change your life. Great.
So anyway, as we come to the end of this episode, are there any other parting words or thoughts before we wrap up this show?
I don't think so, other than to encourage people that, you can develop confidence by using the resources that you already have. And it's a matter of using strategies to access those resources, because we already all of us have confidence in what we can do, at least in one thing in life. So, use the resources there and use these strategies as a way of accessing them. Okay, great. Well, our viewers, thank you for joining us on this episode. And remember, this was part 2. Of the 2-part episode. So make sure you go back and review part 1 and then come back and rewatch this episode to the end. So in any case, Ray, thank you for taking the time to join me on this episode. Our viewers, thank you for watching us, and we'll see you in our next episode. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.